Welcome back, future product designers, to this beginner's course on how to use Fusion 360. My name is Avye Jamadagni, and today we will finally cover the basics of extruding. So, what is extruding? Extruding is basically just a fancy term for taking a 2D sketch like this, or a face, and making it 3D. Now, that's exactly what we're going to be doing with our sketch that we created in lesson 3. So now let's just zoom out a little bit and let's just pan so this comes to the center of our screen. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this origin over here because it kind of obstructs our view a little bit. It doesn't matter too much. If you want, you could keep it, but I prefer not to have it. To remove this origin or just to hide it, you need to manipulate this tiny little tube, a bulb over here. Just click on the bulb and that turns it off. So the origin is gone. Now the same thing you can do with your sketches. So this is the first sketch that we've created, right? Now to confirm this, you can see one sketch over here down in our design history. And if you click on this tiny arrow over here, you see that there's sketch 1. If I click on this, it highlights this entire thing. And that shows that yes, so we have one sketch. Let's click on this again. Now we will be turning this sketch on and off throughout this video. So first, what I want to do is I want to extrude this entire thing 10 centimeters upwards and 10 centimeters downwards. To do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click extrude. So either I can do that by hitting create and then clicking on extrude. I could also hit E on my keyboard, as you learned last time, as it's a keyboard shortcut for the extrude option. And now I get this pop-up window over here. So what I want to do is, since I need 10 centimeters both upwards and downwards, I'm going to choose something called the symmetry option. So we'll go to direction over here and click on this drop down arrow. And let's choose symmetric. Now, it says extent is distance, and I still need to select the profile. The profile is basically what you want to extrude. So to do that, let's zoom out a little. And since instead of selecting each of these shapes individually, I'll select them using a box. So what I can do is I can just drag out a box like this over the entire thing, and that selects all the shapes over there. So you can see I can manipulate this by using this arrow, and how much ever I move it upwards, it moves the same distance downwards, which is exactly what I want. So let's change this. So some tips on extruding first. You might want to just move the arrow up and down just to make sure you know which way you're extruding, because not only can you extrude upwards, you can also extrude downwards depending on the arrow. And if you're extruding in the opposite direction of the arrow, you need to put in negative numbers. But since we need to go in the direction of the arrow here, let's put in a positive number, and we want 10 centimeters. Let's go ahead and type in 10 centimeters and hit enter. And that's what's going to happen. So you see that now we basically have a cuboid. Now, something that Fusion 360 does and is kind of annoying, whenever you use a sketch to extrude, it automatically hides it. So let's go ahead and try to show that sketch again. So although our sketches is supposed to be unhidden now, we need to click on this arrow and then click on this light bulb. And that brings us the sketch again. Let's go ahead and close this sketch bar by clicking on the arrow again. Now we have this. Now let's try to manipulate these and see what we can do. So first thing we need to do is we need to create a hole on this area using this circle over here. To do that, we need to select this circle, but we can't do it with this body in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide this body by clicking on this light bulb, and then we'll select the circle. So let's go ahead, select the circle, and then hit extrude. Now, it doesn't matter whether you hit extrude first and then select the circle, or do it as I just did by selecting the circle and then hitting extrude. It doesn't really matter. Now, so let's just test out which way this is going. So we know that we're trying to extrude something, but we can't see it. So this is shown by the warning over here. The object that you are creating is not visible. Please toggle visibility in the browser. Now, basically what that means is, although we're extruding something, it knows that there's a body around this. So whatever we extrude, there's no point in extruding it because there's a solid component around it, so you won't see it. So to do that, let's click on let's unhide the body again, and we get this. So now you can see that we're extruding inside. But we're also doing one more thing. Whenever you're extruding and you see this red shade over here where you're extruding, you know that that object is being cut. So you're literally making a hole inside the cuboid right now. So what we want to do is, we want to create a hole that goes throughout the entire object, the entire cuboid. To do that, let's once again go to direction, click on symmetric, and now let's just test out which way it's going. That's good. Now, we could type in 10 centimeters over here, which will create a hole that goes directly to the top over here, and that creates a hole throughout the entire cuboid. But an easier and more professional way of doing it is by, instead of selecting extent distance, we select to object. Now, usually with the symmetry option, to object is invisible. So let's go back to the one side option in direction. And now let's go to extent and select to object. Now, what we'll do is, now this selection icon is present here. So let's go ahead and select this top face. Now you can see it creates a hole all the way to the top. However, it does not create a hole all the way to the bottom. And that doesn't make sense for us. So what we're going to do is, now we're going to go to direction, and now we're going to select symmetrical. So now you see there's a huge hole, and that goes all the way through the cuboid. Let's make sure that the operation is cut, make sure that this is shaded red, and go ahead and press OK. So let that compute, and now you see there is a hole all the way through this. Now, the advantage of using to object instead of direction and then typing in 10 centimeters is that now if I manipulate this, or go back in my design history and manipulate this first extrude that we did, whatever I do to it, whether I make it smaller or bigger, this hole will always be present. Sometimes if I mention only 10 centimeters and I decided to extend this further up, the hole over here will stay at 10 centimeters, and the hole throughout the entire cuboid will not remain. Now, let's go ahead and make one more small hole using this circle this time. So again, since we can't select the circle as it is, let's go ahead, hide the body, and this time select the circle, and then click on extrude. Now let's unhide the body again. Now this time, let's use a different feature. So now in the direction, instead of giving one side, let's give two sides. And let's just manipulate this. So you know that the blue arrow is going upwards, and the white arrow is moving downwards. Now this side 1 and side 2. So the blue arrow the blue arrow is the one you select, and this one now tends to move upwards. So that's manipulating side 1. Now, we want the distance for side 1 to be 10 centimeters or just to be a hole on the top. So there are two ways we can do this. Either you select that and you type in 10 centimeters, or you can just click on the top face and that'll automatically bring it to 10 centimeters. However, this is not the same as doing it by to object. You're still gonna end up with if you extend this further, there won't be this hole won't exist anymore. So you just need to be careful with that. Now, for side 2, we want it to go down -4 centimeters. However, since the direction is already downwards, we don't need to put that -4 sign. So what we have to do is, we'll just type in 40 millimeters or 4 centimeters, and that creates the hole on the bottom over here. And let's go ahead and click enter. Now you see, if you orbit around, there is a hole all the way down there, so that the total distance, the depth of that hole is 14 centimeters. And now one last extrude we want to do. For that, let's go ahead and hide the body again, and let's manipulate this rectangle over here. So let's select the rectangle, go to extrude, and let's unhide the body. Now, what we want to do is, we want to extrude this upwards 12 centimeters. So, let's just fiddle around with the arrow to see which way we're going. So it says we're going up. So let's go to the distance and type in 12 centimeters. Now, before we hit enter, this is still showing red. And we don't want this to cut through the entire object. We actually want it to protrude on the outside. To do that, let's go to the operation down here and click join. Now you can see that it actually protrudes, and this is exactly what we need. Now let's go ahead and click OK or hit enter. And this is exactly what we need. So this should be the final shape you would end up with. Now, something you might want to fiddle around with, just to be on the safer side, you see that there are two separate faces over here. We generally don't want two separate faces. So what we're going to do is, we're going to select these two faces and extrude them outwards. So let's just go to extrude and select this face and this face. And let's just do 1 millimeter. So let's just type in 1 mm. Since Fusion 360 automatically does this in millimeters, you don't need to type in the units now. However, if you're doing centimeters or inches or feet, then you'll definitely need to type it in, or you'll need to go to your preferences, which is going to be up here again, and edit that. Let's go ahead and click OK. Make sure that the operation is join. And now you see that it's one entire face. Let's go ahead to this side and do the same thing. So let's hit, this time, instead of going to create and hitting extrude, let's try the keyboard shortcut. So let's just hit E on your keyboard, and that should open extrude. Select this face and this face, and let's type in 1 millimeter again. Hit enter. And now you have that line gone as well. You have one more line here, so you know what to do. Hit E on your keyboard, select that face, hit 1, and press enter. And that's it. Now the shape has been edited slightly, but you see that there are no lines anymore, and you can see that it's looking good. So it's looking pretty professional. Now, just for the aesthetics of this very look, let's just try to hide the sketches and make sure it's one entire cuboid like this. Now, you see that in your design history, you have a total of 7 extrudes and 1 sketch. It is looking kind of messy over here, and that's going to be the focus of the next video, how to clean up your design history and how we can take this shape to the next level. How to make it more perfect, how to add fillets, and stuff like that. Those will be the aims and the agendas of the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for your time. This marks the end of this lesson, and yes, so yeah, let's make sure that we save this. Let's make sure that we save this shape before we go any further. So let's go ahead and click save on the top. It says version description is user saved. Let's go ahead and press OK. And now you see Sketch 1 version 2. Let's go to the data panel. And it still says Sketch 1. However, well, it's not exactly a sketch anymore, is it? So let's rename that. So let's click the left button. And let's go to rename. Sorry, the right mouse button. Rename. And let's call this Product 1. And hit enter. That's going to save that, and it's going to save it as version 3. Now, that's perfectly fine. As you keep on saving it, it saves as different versions, and I will tell you the importance of that in future lessons. Anyway, let's hide the data panel for now, and this marks the end of this lesson. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.